My name is Major General Don Tyre. I am the Assistant Adjutant General for the Department of Military Affairs. I appear today in a state statute and not as a representative for the Department of Defense. The agency head for the Department of Military Affairs, Major General Titshaw, was unable to be here today as he will be attending a veterans event later on. But he wanted me to convey to the committee this morning his support for House Bill 209. As always, sir, the Department of Military Affairs stands ready to support the citizens of the state of Florida in their time of need and a time of emergency. And I thank you for the opportunity to speak here this morning.
Thank you, sir.
There are still today videos online of the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, when law-abiding citizens' guns were taken from them by force. Only 20% of Floridians have concealed carry permits. Those people need the protection that this bill offers when they need to evacuate. This legislature has already addressed this issue in part once before. In the immediate aftermath of Katrina, this legislature passed a law making it clear that this state would not allow those types of seizures to go on. Now the legislature needs to make clear that you don't need to have a concealed carry permit when you're evacuating during an emergency. I also want the committee to be aware that this has actually been considered by a U.S. District Court in North Carolina, where North Carolina had similar provisions regarding restrictions during emergencies. And in that case, the court actually struck down the North Carolina restriction. So what we're asking this committee to do today really is to bring the state of Florida into compliance with what other U.S. District Courts have already done. We ask you to support this bill, and we ask you to recognize the rights of Floridians to defend themselves in a state of emergency.
So on behalf of the Florida Sheriffs, we oppose the bill as drafted. Florida Sheriffs support Second Amendment rights for Florida citizens, and we affirm our ongoing support for Florida citizens to responsibly own firearms. We understand this is a very passionate and important debate. But in our opinion, there is a difference between owning a firearm and carrying one concealed on your person. Owning a firearm is a right. Carrying it concealed is a privilege. And it is a privilege that is earned by showing a higher degree of training and proficiency with the firearm. The question before you today is really pretty simple. Do the members of this committee want to extend to a huge number of people the privilege of carrying a concealed and loaded weapon at exactly the time when they are least likely to use the weapon in a safe and responsible manner?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. The NRA and Unified Sportsmen of Florida strongly support this bill. The bill protects citizens from being charged with a crime and having their guns confiscated for carrying their firearms with them during a mandatory evacuation under a declared state of emergency. When you're ordered to take your family and leave your home and belongings behind, you should not be deprived of the right to protect yourself and your family. This bill is especially important to Florida for law-abiding people because we're prone to evacuations due to hurricanes. In situations like this, you're on your own. You're responsible for the safety of yourself and your family. Taking your firearms with you is not only your right, it's your responsibility, and it's a necessity. Under Florida law, carrying firearms openly is a crime. Carrying firearms concealed without a license is a crime. And contrary to what one of the previous speakers said, this would not be the first time Florida law has authorized carrying without a license. 790.25 has numerous exceptions to the law that allow you to carry openly and concealed. Unfortunately, during a mandatory evacuation is not one of those exceptions. If you leave your firearm behind, not only will you have no way to protect yourself and your family, there's a good chance they won't be there when you get back. They could be lost from hurricane damage or stolen by looters, and that poses a greater danger to emergency personnel, law enforcement, and military personnel. I'm delighted that the sheriffs say they oppose the Second Amendment. But the Second Amendment says the right to keep and bear arms. That makes it a right, not a privilege. A license to carry means you can carry it around on your person upon the streets during everyday occurrences. This is an emergency situation. People have that right, not that privilege. It's simple. Support your constituents. Trust law-abiding people. Please pass this bill. Thank you.